Howdy, Michael the Mercedes guy here, and today we're going to do a thermostat replacement on this diesel engine. And one nice thing about a diesel thermostat replacement, you don't have to worry that much about purging the head like a gas engine. We're still going to lift up the front when we go to fill it, but since the fill goes right to the head instead of through the thermostat like a gas engine, it is an easier process. So I got my trusty air wrench here, and we're going to put, I've got a clean drain pan underneath, because you can actually reuse the coolant if you're careful. And I'll go ahead and pull these bolts so you don't have to listen to all the racket. Okay, I've held the thermostat almost closed the whole way so we don't drench any more than necessary. And now we're going to go ahead and pull this off. Oh, that thermostat is corroded in there. There we go. Now, something important, and that is to look at the corrosion. I see a bit of corrosion in here. This is pot metal aluminum cast, so we need to actually remove this and wire wheel it and just see how bad that corrosion is. Now, as you can see, I'm getting antifreeze on stuff. Very important. Do not crank the engine until everything is fully assembled. Then get a water hose, I'll show you, and just drench that and wash off that antifreeze. Now, if you're going to do the job, finish it tomorrow or something, you don't want the antifreeze drying on there, so you wash it off right away. But we're going to continue on this pretty quickly here, but you know, if I've got to clean up that housing, I think I'll wash it right now. We got a zip tie on here. Now, because this hose is lower, I'm going to go ahead and move this down and drain out more coolant. There we go. Okay, now here's a trick. Because these clamps get kind of corroded together, put just a little bit of oil down in there so that it not only unscrews easier, but will not damage the clamp. A better possibility of not damaging the clamp. Now, something you always want to do is inspect your clamp and replace if it's damaged, and I'll show you what to look for. Shoving a screwdriver down alongside there. Free that up. Don't be jabbing your radiator. Oh, and look at the corrosion. Now, that might be minor, it might be major. Now, what to look for with the clamp? These little slots, if they're damaged and bent, the little metal in between each slot, you got to replace the clamp. Anyway, I'll go ahead and clean this up and see. Oh boy, I don't even have to clean it. Let's get in the sunlight here. And I can see two corroded holes right there, almost all the way through. So this needs to be replaced. And fortunately, I've already pulled from my stock and wire wheeled this one, and it's in really good shape. So we aren't even going to bother with this one. We'll put the sensor in. But, yeah, this is junk. Now, that tells me that there may be more corrosion here in this other half of the thermostat housing. So that's coming off right now to inspect as well. I've actually seen cars with a hole eaten all the way through and they lose their coolant and burn up the engine. So this is a very important preventative maintenance, is to inspect these coolant parts. Now also, there is another cast aluminum piece right here that can get corroded. It's a lot more trouble to replace it. It's actually the water pump housing. So this particular customer is very good with observing his car and coolant level and so on. So if that starts leaking down the road, we got to do a video on replacing that as well. Okay. We're going to replace this hose while we're at it, which is really hard to replace. And you have to take this housing off. So now's the time to do it. Unfortunately, we have a new one. And so I'm going to start here with this clamp right here. Yep. I got to get this out of the way. Now we have an open hole here. You don't want anything falling in there. So you want to plug that hole right now. And then we can start pulling stuff apart. Oh, I'm very corroded. It's a good thing we're doing this. Now, something else to look for to inspect is your coolant hoses. I'm going to twist this up and just look at it here, because it can get quite rough inside there with holes eaten partway through the hose. And also the clamp itself can cut through the hose. But this hose looks good enough to go again, so get it out of our way here. And loosen these clamps up. They're already saturated with coolant, so there's no point in trying to put oil on them. Okay, I've got this one plugged. Here's another one. Let's plug that. Make your plug big enough so you can't push it through. Otherwise, you'd have to pull off the valve cover and whatnot. Okay. 13 to take that off. That's loose right off of there. Boy, look at how corroded that is. Real serious. Now, what causes corrosion is not changing your antifreeze every couple of years, because antifreeze becomes acidic, old antifreeze, and it just eats up stuff like this. So fortunately, I've already pulled one from stock, so I've got a good one there. Now this one also has a little bit of corrosion here, but it's beyond the clamp. As long as I clamp right here, I'll be fine. And also, there's some corrosion here, but I've cleaned it up, and I'm going to coat it with hardening Permatex. That will seal it. And I've got another one here. Let's see how bad this is. Whatever, I'll pick the best one. This one is not as good. It's got some corrosion right here. This one is pretty nice. Okay, clean up stuff, get ready. Now, I'm also going to be doing the fan clutch on this car. So, I'm going to go ahead and pull off the water pump housing and inspect it, since I'm seeing so much corrosion. And I've already done a video on how to do the fan clutch. So just refer to it for the next step.